Be careful. He's
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah, right.
The podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And welcome to Behind the Funny. This is Scott Higgins, and you're joining us in the Acement because I said it backwards. And I haven't even had a sip of bourbon yet.
I'm Ace Aceto, and this is Scott Higgins. Welcome to the Acement.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to sleep now.
Yeah, this is a special edition of Behind the Funny.
Yes.
So you'll notice we do have a guy across from us, very handsome young man, James Firth. He is our guest on our next episode.
Yes, we have two guests tonight.
We have two guests tonight. We're
And
doubling up.
So in this first episode, James is just eye candy.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
I'll just be quiet and drink.
he's somehow if you drink enough, that's all you'll do in the second podcast.
Yeah, it's great how that works.
That's all right. No, but listen, we're excited tonight to have two guests, and I'm going to let Scott take the honors because this our first guest actually came to us through Scott.
Yes.
So Scott, why don't you give a little background on this?
Yeah, this young man reached out to me several years ago through the Bradley Playhouse, where
Yep.
I produce my Comedy All-Stars show, was inquiring about doing a spot there. And as Ace knows, because Ace produces a lot of shows too, you usually will only book somebody that you've seen or somebody that's recommended to you. Like if Ace
Right.
recommends somebody to me, I'll book them because, I know Ace and I trust his opinion. But you won't book somebody unless you see them. So I said to him, well, I'd have to see a spot first. And when you do that, like Friday night this week, I'm going to see a new comic. He's performing on a show and I'm gonna go watch him.
Yep.
So I said to this guy, I would need to see a spot first. So he goes, okay. He organized his own show,
Yep.
booked a crowd to come in
Wow.
and watch, so I could see him
Yep.
perform live.
Yeah. Like instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to be on this
Yeah,
open mic,"
not-
he literally
not-
produced a show.
How
He
new
pro-
is this person?
Yeah.
No, he's
He's
been
new.
doing it several years, and he does a lot of producing of his own shows. He's done a lot of stream shows. I mean, he stayed busy during the pandemic. He works very, very hard at comedy. So, I've been friends with him for a while. I talked to him on and off, and I said, you know what? He has earned a spot at the Bradley Playhouse.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
So he's booked on the March 12th show we got coming up. And I got Joe Yannetti on the
It's a
show,
great show.
Amy T, Rafi Gonzalez, Dave Radigan, and of course
Our guest.
tonight's guest, Mr. Kody Brunet.
All right, let's bring him in.
Cody, welcome.
Well, here we are. Woohoo.
Welcome, Cody.
That was quite an intro. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
Well, no, Cody, I meant every word of it, man. I've been impressed for years now. I mean, you just blew me away that day at how hard you worked to set that whole showcase up. And I follow you online, obviously, and you're constantly working, doing shows and writing material. And you make me work because I'm like, if this guy's willing to go out and do it, I got to go out and
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
stuff all the time.
Yeah, definitely. It never ends, it seems. No matter what I'm doing, I always seem to find something to write about.
Yeah, well, that's
For
part of
sure.
being a comedian. Now, how old were you when you first realized that comedy was kind of a thing for you?
I would say when I first met you and did that show, I was in college. So I would say
Right.
but before that, I would say about 14, 15.
And were you like just a fan then, or did you really get into like, I want to write jokes, I want to get into telling jokes at 14, 15?
Well, it's kind of a really funny story. So I have obviously family members who aren't kind of knew a little bit about the stand-up world. Like, not many of my family is into that kind of talking, making joke stuff. So,
Right.
you know, and so I kind of looked for it all on my own. You know, you see all the comedy greats. You see Richard Pryor behind me on YouTube. You can kind of see, and George Carlin's my biggest fan. And,
Right.
you know, watching Netflix stand up is really where I got a lot of the motivation. And the thing that, and I, you know, when you listen to a lot of these comics, the best way to say it is, you know, they list off like famous comics and their famous, most famous material. And it's kind of funny, not until I got a record player for Christmas, this was the record everybody said that you need to listen to if you really want to start out. And I just got a copy of it.
Wow,
clown.
actual record version
Wow.
too.
Yeah, and pretty good quality too. I was shocked, you know, but
That's
everyone
awesome.
said, thank you. Everyone said that George Carlin's Class Clown, amongst others, was the one to kind of, you know, set the straight, like, is this something one would be interested in? And
Right.
from there, I mean, you know, 15 years old, you know, should you be listening to that, especially in this world? But I didn't care. I listened to him. I listened to all of the comics, and I'm like, listen, if, you know, living in under my parents' roof, they're like, can you kind of tone it down a little with the use of the F word on stand up? And it's like, hey, sorry, it's my thing. I can't help it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but your parents have been pretty supportive about
Yes, they have. I mean, my dad, you know, is a typical dad, you know, really Mr. Funny Guy, but yeah, my mother has always been very supportive of this stuff, and my dad has eventually warmed up to it.
Yeah.
Now, where was the very first time you stood on stage telling jokes?
Oh God, my high school talent show of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
And
Granted,
did you do original material, or did you like a lot of us, we would, you know, take our favorite George Carlin bits or Richard Pryor or Steve Martin and do that that's what I did at a talent show. Or did you have original material?
You know, man, goddamn. The first talent show I was in high school. The high school I was at was, you know, I was there 4 years, and I had transferred on my sophomore year. I didn't do the talent show that year. At first I was kind of, you know what? I did do that talent show. I did. I was kind of like, okay, new faces, new place. Should I do some of my material or should I kind of, you know, wait a little bit? I just went on stage and told jokes, just random jokes I found, not really my material. Just, you know, two guys walk into a bar, you know, the bartender says, what is this? Kind of, you know, stuff
Like
like
street
that.
jokes type of
Yeah,
stuff.
street jokes, main street shit. And the talent show of 2013, in my junior year, I decided, you know what, it's time. I think it's time. And I did a bit about the Weather Channel, which was my first original bit I ever wrote. It wasn't, at the time, it wasn't a full on, like, you get laughs, you know, every 5 seconds. It had probably 5 total jokes in it. It wasn't long. It was like 2 minutes, 30 seconds. It wasn't long, but had about 5 good jokes in it about, you know, who really wants to watch the Weather Channel. I made up ideas for other potentially better channels, like the Benjamin Moore Channel. We could tune in to watch freaking paint drying on the walls, you know?
Right.
And the last talent show I did in my senior year in high school, I went on stage with, I think you might remember this one. Hell, I can't believe it's a decade old. My product slogans I did.
I think
the
you did
honest
that
slogans.
the night you auditioned for me.
I did, and
Yes.
that was the bit I went on stage with. And on my senior year in high school, people would die and laughing. Even the younger kids were like, "Oh my God!" You know, families would bring their, you know, my friends' little brothers and little sisters, and even they're laughing their asses off. So it was. Then I kind of knew. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to ring in people with my own original material. And actually, it was either that or my friend and I were going to do. He was going to film me doing Steve Martin's Ramblin' Man. He actually
Rambling. I'm
Yeah,
rambling. I love that one.
Yeah.
Rambling guy.
It was kind of that, because you're like, I got a banjo, you know. I said, what am I, Kermit the Frog? No, Steve Martin. Oh, Steve Martin. I mean, I could go up on stage, you know, and I could do either one. I could go up on stage and go, rambling guy, or someday we'll find it. the Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not bad.
That's
That's
It
not
is.
bad.
As you get older, the Kermit fades.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but yeah, I want to hear.
I know that feeling too.
I want to hear
Yeah.
Kermit telling dirty jokes.
Oh, well, funny you should ask.
Oh, Ace, did you just do that? Oh,
Yeah.
damn. And I
Ace
thought-
Ace
I
is
thought
known
Joe
to do an
Pesci-
impression or two.
A few.
I heard Joe Pesci, and I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect.
No, his Gilbert Godfrey is my personal favorite.
Please stop. You're embarrassing me.
Oh my God.
So funny. Listen,
That's
it's not
amazing.
about me, it's about Kody.
Who's auditioning now?
No, but I just wanted to say, Ace, you do good impressions. I
Thank
couldn't
you.
believe it.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I said, is Joe Pesci hiding under the table or?
Yeah,
What's
we got
going
him
on there?
stashed away every once in a while. I don't know, you know.
It's really good.
Now I sound like Brian Vincent.
Yeah, you do. You
A little bit.
Brian Vincent
All of
there.
a sudden, I started talking like Brian Vincent.
Where's your little cap?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Now,
geez.
once you left high school, I mean, obviously you still pursued comedy.
Yes.
Where was the first time, like in a club or a bar or someplace like that, you did comedy?
Man, I would say probably the Stomping Ground in Putnam. Back when
Okay.
I was still kind of young, but they weren't really. Obviously, I couldn't sit at the bar at that point, but I went up there just for shits and giggles. One night, I went up there with a couple friends. We drank sodas, sitting at the table like kids do, and I said, I'm going to try it. What the hell? I'll go up there and tell some jokes. And I started off, and the crowd was kind of like, oh God, there's a comedian getting up there and the music. So
Right.
I said, oh no, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't want to like just go into my original stuff. I gotta like engage them in something. So I go up on stage, and out of all the jokes I could think of in my head that I knew from different comedians I've met and even different famous guys I've watched, for some reason there was a line from oh my God, who was it? Rodney Dangerfield. I started doing Rodney Dangerfield, like literally. I said, oh my God, how was it? I said, I'm fine tonight, but last week I was in rough shape, And I started doing like 2 minutes of Rodney Dangerfield, and people are like, and I did like the face or whatever, facial expressions and everything. And he's like, and people are like, this guy's pretty good. Wow, he's got the, they were like, oh my God, he's remembering these verbatim. Holy crap. Like, I couldn't even remember any of his jokes. And then I did a Carlin line, of course, and I chose, for some reason, I said, it's 2018, and you realize there still aren't any Chinese guys named Rusty, and people are laughing. And then I said, okay, now I got them where I want them. And I did the slogans bit and the Weather Channel bit, because those were kind of the two I had at the time. But I also had started doing the Disney Store product ideas bit. You might remember that too from when I auditioned for you. I think I did that then too. I'm not entirely sure. And I did like Mickey Mouse glue traps, the 101 Dalmatians birth control pills, and the one that people will love because they remember that one the most was the It's a Small World After All boxer shorts. And I ended my bit, and I always ended my open mic gigs by saying, for those of you who don't understand that last one, you'll soon figure it out when your underwear size changes. And then recently I found that bit, and that's a decade old, like the slogan bit, the product slogans bit. And I edited a little bit of it, just, to kind of update it a little bit. I threw some new product ideas in there. Like, what was the newest one I did? The best one I think was, if you remember, Goofy has a son named Max. I got to set it up for that. The Disney Store exclusive Maxi and Minnie branded female hygiene pads.
Yeah.
It's funny you say
Something.
that, because Ace and I were talking about that recently, taking old bits and refreshing them.
Yeah.
And kind of reworking them when you haven't done them in a while. Because,
my dad actually brought that one up. I'm like, well, I'll be damn. I haven't done that one. I'm like, God, I haven't done that one since 82. Oh,
I tell you, I haven't done that one in
not-
years.
I tell you, man, I have so much written down. It's like, I don't even remember half of what I started with. Ironically, as crazy as it sounds.
And that happens sometimes all of a sudden. I remember a couple of years ago, I was at an open mic night. I hadn't been in a while, and some lady yelled out, do the Roger Rabbit bit. And I have not done this bit in like 25 years.
I think
And
half
I
people
had
wouldn't
to-
know who Roger Rabbit
I
is.
had to have her remind me what the bit was.
Oh,
And then
man.
I'm like, oh, was it this? And then I kind of muddled my way through it. And she goes, why don't you do that anymore? I go, I don't know, because no one knows who the fuck Roger Rabbit is at
Yeah,
this point.
pretty
You know,
much.
it's pretty much.
Our
I have
generation
the
knows.
VHS tape, if that counts.
I have the DVD, my friend.
Well, you're an old soul, Cody.
Yeah.
You got albums, you got VHS
Right.
tapes.
Yeah.
You were born in the wrong
You were
decade.
born in the wrong decade.
That's what
exactly.
that's what people have been telling me lately. Like, you collect vinyl records? I do.
Yeah.
You
There-
have VHS tapes? I do.
You know what? Vinyl records are back.
They're coming back.
I
Yeah.
was in Target with my wife the other day, and we walked by
They're expensive.
the album
They are.
collection, and they have all of Billy Joel's albums in
Yeah.
vinyl, and they're $30 each.
Yeah,
for
I know.
albums. I used to pay like $5 for
You
albums.
scratch that friggin' thing, it's
Wow.
shit for
It's
the rest of
done.
your life.
It's done. Now, when you first started
What's the
doing,
deal with that?
what's the deal with that?
I mean, why is my record scratched? Sorry.
I put a quarter on the needle. How much is this gonna cost
How
me?
much does it need? Do I need a nickel? What's heavier?
Can you make change? Anyway, when you first started doing show, like obviously in high school, performing at a talent show is a certain type of audience, friends,
Yep.
people that know you.
Yeah.
You, like you said, stomping ground. Those people don't know you, and it sounds like you kind of had an idea of I got to win the crowd over, and then I can do some stuff.
Yeah.
How were the adult audiences receiving you when you first started doing shows at bars and nightclubs? Because you were young when you first
Yeah,
started doing
I was
those.
about 18, 19, a couple years shy of being able to sit at the bar, but people were like, you know, and I didn't have this fresh facial hair, you know, it wasn't as long and more adult like as it is now. I'm 24 now, but when I look back, people were like, who is this kid? Like,
Yeah.
there's a kid grabbing the microphone and he's talking like Rodney Dangerfield. Like, what the hell are we supposed to make of this? If he can't
Right.
sit at the bar, a couple people told me, if you can't sit at the bar, why are you even in here? And I'm like,
Right,
because
exactly.
I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to start a passion for myself. This is my thing. Like, I feel like I'm funny. They're like, well, did you have to do George Carlin? I said, well, how else am I going to win the audience over? You know, and ironically enough, to get ready for the Bradley, I've been doing the open mic every Sunday just to get the bit, you know, everything set. Because, you know, during the pandemic, I didn't have an audience, obviously. That was hard.
Right.
But I saw a woman who had seen me at the stomp when I started out, and she said, you look so much more confident in yourself than you did back then. Like, I
Yeah.
notice you're engaging more with the audience. You don't feel like you have to look down at your feet or anything. And I know that's not a good rule, but you know, when
Right.
you're looking at a bunch of 30 and 40-year-old adults and even 50s and 60s possibly in the bar, you're like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong place. I need to
Right.
start my shows at Chuck E. Cheese, for crying out loud.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with facial hair, they would probably bring me out in cuffs because they think I was looking at the kids or something. I was kind of
But you know what? Cody, you bring up a good point. The fact that you've been practicing, that's what gets you that comfortable feeling on stage, that stage presence. You know,
Yeah.
it's just being able to feel comfortable on stage and say, hey, this is the whole reason why I'm here. I'm here to tell these people jokes and to make them laugh. And so I own this stage. This is my space,
Right.
Yes.
you know?
Right.
And that takes practice, and it takes just getting up repetitively and doing it. There's no other way to gain confidence on stage than to keep going up.
Yeah.
there.
Colin Quinn
You know?
said it one
Yeah.
time. Someone asked him, how can I get better? And he said, work.
Practice.
Yes.
Get on stage
Yep.
every night that you
We're
can.
friends with a
Yep.
guy named Darren LaCroix. He's a world famous motivational speaker.
Oh,
Used to
wow.
be a comic, and his big thing, he said, my mentor, Vinny Favorito,
Yep.
was his mentor. And he said, my mentor told me, stage time.
Yep.
That's how you get better.
It's true.
You can't get
Mm.
better by speaking in front of a mirror. You can't get better by just running it in your head. You have to do it, you know? And
Yep.
so kudos to you for continuing to look for opportunities to be able to get better, because there are some people who just, they think that it's going to come naturally and they don't want to work at it. And then they don't understand why well, I've done 5 open mics. I don't understand why I'm not getting the
Yeah,
response.
Why aren't I
want.
getting paid?
Yeah,
People
why aren't I?
are-
Oh, yeah, there's people like that.
Yeah.
that
So good.
yeah, that are like, they're like, yeah. So how much am I getting paid for this? It's an open mic. This is
Yeah, exactly.
This is for you to be able to work your craft.
Right.
Now, besides obviously being young when you started, what other obstacles have you had to overcome to get out there and pursue your passion and your dream?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this is, a lot of people do know this, but if it's okay, I'd like to go a little more in depth on it just for a couple minutes, because a lot of people know that when I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with autism,
Right.
the high functioning Asperger's syndrome, or whatever they call it. It's some new autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah, they
whatever
classify
now.
it differently now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, than when it was back in the 2000s. But that was very hard for me. There's to put it bluntly, it was a pain in the ass to get me out of that, anxiety. Like, people are going to judge me. People are going to look at me funny, like I'm, standing on stage bare butt, So
Right.
I was kind of a little concerned about it, at first, and going through everything like that. Like, every day was a challenge for me. Like, do I even want to get out of bed, or do I want to stay under the covers and not live my life? Well, eventually, as I grew up, I met so many great people who've helped me through it, and my parents and my family and my friends. Without them, I'd probably still be in bed right now,
Yeah.
under the covers every day. But stand-up comedy definitely was my forte, and still is, to kind of get me out there, because I want to live my life and I want to do this. This is, like you guys have said, and I've said, I'm never going to stop this.
Right.
And
Right.
putting myself in that mindset kind of takes away from the nerves, takes everything away. It's kind of like, I look at myself kind of oddly a little bit, because I grew up with the Jim Henson Muppets, of course.
Yeah.
So, and when I first saw one of their shows, which about Fraggle Rock, I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
must
we're
have.
familiar.
Well, I kind of jokingly call myself a Fraggle, because I kind of look like, I kind of dance, tell jokes and
Right.
joke your cares away. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I want to live a lifestyle that's kind of, don't worry about the big things. Do not let anything in your way stop you. And if there is anything in your way, just step on it and get over it. I know it can be hard for some people, but for me, over the past few years, it's been interesting, but a lot easier than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Have you ever met R.A. Bartlett? He's a comic from Rhode Island.
No, I don't think I have.
And he is one of the funniest comics out there.
Hilarious.
And he actually has Asperger's and does a lot of jokes about having Asperger's. I can't remember his actual joke, but it has something to do with how people made fun of him for being into Marvel comic books. And now all of a sudden he's like the foremost authority on every Marvel movie. He goes, all of a sudden I'm the most popular kid in the room because I know everything about the Scarlet Witch and Vision, and we should get you together with him, because he would be a great mentor for you.
He's
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
That would be
He
great.
can make a bit about anything.
Yeah.
Like, he could just off the cuff, he'll go in depth. His brain is just so full of facts that no one else knows.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
And he knows where to inject them to make it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what, Kody? One of the things that has impressed me, and because I follow you on Facebook, obviously, is you've been open about autism, and you share stuff about it, and you put stuff out there, and I think that's great, because you show people that this doesn't define me. This is it's something I deal with, but it's not who I am. It's just one of the things that's part of me, and I deal with it, and I still get to do what I want to do and what I love to do.
And you know what? It didn't really. I never really thought of it until you just said it. And how devastated you were,
right?
Because you just knew you as you. I'm just me. All of a sudden, there's this classification on me that I didn't realize existed. That must have been really, really difficult.
And it was
make you feel like you didn't want to get out of bed. But again, kudos to you for finding something that made you want to get out of bed and made you want to say, "Hey, listen, I don't care. All right, this is me. I'm still me."
Well, thank
regardless
you
of
for
what
that. Yeah.
classification, you know?
Yeah, and the way I look at it in today's world, where everyone feel where if you upset someone, like I don't think that anybody should feel like their classification defines them.
Right.
100%.
And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't judge anybody.
Timestamp.
I welcome everyone with open arms, no matter what. And I
Yep.
don't,
Right.
because I don't use my label to ruin my life. I want to be open about it. And I think everybody should, no matter what you are.
And
or
you
who
know what,
are.
Cody, what people don't realize, we all have a label. You know what I
Yes, we
mean?
do.
I've
We do.
been short my whole life. That's my label. I'm always the short kid. So everyone has some sort of label. It doesn't mean,
You're taller than me, Ace.
I'm not taller than you.
No, you're tall to me.
Oh, well, I thank you.
Yeah,
I
he
don't-
doesn't
I don't
look.
see
He
height.
doesn't look short at all. I'll be
You don't
honest.
see height? Yeah. Well, I'm sitting down, Cody. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, I welcome everyone with open arms.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this, and you doing the math, 10 years of comedy, what
Yeah.
have been some highlight moments for you in those 10 years where you're like, wow, this is why I got into comedy, or I can't believe I'm here right now doing this show or working with this person? What have been some of those cool moments?
I
for
mean,
you?
besides working with Scott, we all know that's a highlight for all of us.
Scott is one of the big key moments. And John Perrotta.
John Perrotta, yep. We
meeting
love
him
John.
was a godsend to even put me on the freaking Comedy Connection stage was a blessing.
Yep. That's great.
And that was awesome. One of the
Now,
biggest-
Cody, was the first time you met John the night you and I went to his open mic night?
At the pub on Park, yes.
That was the first night you met John?
Yes.
Oh, that was. Yeah, I remember you and I going out to that. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, here's a an open mic music spot, bar, bowling alley in the back. I said, welcome to Cranston.
Yeah.
We've
Hey,
all said that.
listen.
Hey, Ace was inducted into the Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame in that bowling alley.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
Hey, that's
Only-
awesome.
Yeah.
Key moment for that bowling.
That was a key moment for that bowling
That
alley.
put the
That's
pub on
right.
Park on the map.
That's right.
Yep.
Who am I? I'm the guy who put the plumbing in his place.
Sorry.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just randomly go into
Hey.
No,
impressions.
and you know
I
what?
can't help it.
It's funny because we talk about it all the time. We love Parada, and John Parada has
That's right.
single-handedly helped hundreds upon hundreds of comedians.
Get stage
get
time.
stage time, get better, and move up. Around here, we all wouldn't be as far along as we've been without John Parada.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, and if it wasn't for you guys and getting all the connections, I probably would still be like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Well,
And
you
if I
know
didn't
what?
have all the exposure I did either.
You know what, Cody? Like we've talked about it. We've had some of Ace's mentors on here. We've had some of my mentors on here. People in our past when we started, helped us get a leg up, get into places, different things. And, when it became our turn to help people, we want to pay it forward and help out people we think are funny and deserving of a chance. So that's why, when I met you and, I took you to the pub on Park and stuff like that, that's me paying it forward. Ace has done it for people. Neither one of us helped James Firth out at all because
Actually,
he's not deserving.
No, actually, I took him on
I
the
know,
road
you took
with
him on
me.
the road.
I took him on the road. We stayed at a creepy bed and breakfast together.
You guys had a lovely
Yeah.
couples weekend
That's right.
together up in
Lovely
Vermont.
couples
Yeah.
weekend.
It's lovely. It's a bed and breakfast.
All
Well,
right,
listen.
as we get ready to wind down here, we just got one last question for you.
All right,
Um,
ask away.
In 10 years, I know it's been nothing but 10 years of highlights for you because you're a
Yes.
talented young man. You're very funny, but there has to be somewhere in there that bad gig, that funny bad gig that makes you kind of think that night, maybe comedy isn't the thing that I need to help me get over things. Maybe I should do something else. But then a couple weeks later, you tell some friends or tell some other comedians about it and laugh about it. We call it the funny bad gig story.
All right. Well, this actually is partly true. The events that took place were true, but I kind of the way I used to perform it originally when I started out, when I started kind of wanting to be a little more not adult, but a little more mature in my material. This was the story I would end with, and it was my first gig. So that was kind of the false part of it, my first like big gig, and it wasn't. It was just a night, that I was doing a gig with a friend who was a musician. Let me see, how did that go? So basically, my friend was doing music, a longtime friend. I've known him since high school. And he said, would you like to, do a little spot in the middle? I said, do I have to sing? No. Tell your jokes. Do some material. I said, what the hell? Why not? So I did. And I don't remember where we were. It was somewhere out in Providence. And I had asked him, do I need a sign or something, or a post, something that, says Kody Brunet? Because I didn't have my label Kody's Comedy at that time. That wasn't until about 5 years ago. But anyway, my friend says, I'll have my uncle. He's really good with sign work, and I'll have him, make you a little banner to put up, not something big to take away from my friend's show, but, something they'll know it's me. So I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks. Well, my pet peeve when I was a teenager was people who spell my name wrong. My name is Kody, and it used to piss me off when people would spell it with a C. Because it was something in my mind. I always thought, okay, they're doing this on purpose. They're trying to piss me off. So I used to always tell this story, and I always used to wear a wristwatch. And people would heckle me because they knew my name was with a K. My friend even said, here's Kody's Comedy, Kody. And the banner said Cody, and then my last name Brunet, Brunet. So it's a couple women in the front row. They were drunk, and they were just heckling me the whole night, like, hey, I see, Cody. Oh, I see you too. Like, and it was just stupid drunken banter. Yeah, exactly. So I invited them up on stage, and this is how I end the bit. I jokingly say, I took the mic stand and I shoved it up there. Oh, and I would look at my watch like, oh, would you look at the time? My time is up. I'm Kody Brunet. Thank you. And people were always, left in suspicion. Like, did he really shove it up her ass? Or what happened here? And people would just laugh at that story. And some of it, I will never reveal, like a magician never reveals his secrets. I will never reveal what part of that was true and what part of that was not true.
As you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
A magician never reveals his secrets, and a comedian doesn't need to explain his jokes.
No. Well, Kody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it, man. I am looking forward to March 12th, having you on at the Bradley. I hope we have a packed house that night, man. You deserve to be up in front of 400 people. It's going to be, I mean, Ace has been on a couple times there at the theater. It's a beautiful theater, as you know.
It is.
And people deserve to see you up there. What do you website, social media? What can we promote for you?
The problem with my social media is with Kody's Comedy, it got hacked quite a few times. So I'm trying to work on getting a protected website from a friend in New York who's going to be working on that for me.
All right.
So
stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Stay tuned for the website. And Kody Brunet, my regular account on Facebook, is where you'll see any updates I have until that website comes up.
All right.
Perfect.
And anybody in the Northeast Connecticut area, it's in Putnam, Connecticut, the bradleyplayhouse.org is where you can go to get tickets. Scott Higgins Comedy All-Stars. We're going to have 5 comedians plus me hosting. It is truly an all-star lineup this time, and Kody is going to actually bust his cherry on that stage that night. It's going to be absolutely amazing, man. You've earned the shot, and I look forward to watching you that night.
Me, same here, and I'm looking forward to meeting all the guys. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right, Kody, thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Kody.
No
Have
problem.
a great
Thank
night.
you.
All right.
And that was Kody Brunet.
Go ahead.
No, great kid.
Yeah.
Like I said, he busts his ass for comedy, man.
Yeah.
He just loves, he makes me feel like I don't work hard enough when I see all his posts and all the different things
How much stuff he's doing.
And I'm like, oh shit, I love comedy too.
I'm a lazy shit.
Maybe I'm not working hard enough.
Right.
So I'm glad that he's to give him this opportunity. And
That's awesome.
We talked about it before with some of the guys that gave us opportunities about paying it forward. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, folks, if you're listening, if you're watching live right now, we're going to be coming off and then going back on. And the next show will be with our buddy James Firth.
He won't just be eye candy for the next show.
He will actually be working and talking this time. But if you're not watching live, We've got a lot of great shows coming up. We got big announcements, special episode coming up next week.
Yep.
Which will be fantastic. Great news for the comedy community in Rhode Island. And other than that, we'll talk to you
next week.